Hello and welcome back to Who's There, a Doctor Who podcast. There's no intro gag this time, Crispy. I know, it's sad.
What? Crazy.
It's a heartbreaking time, but it's for good reason. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this episode was recorded about 5 months ago. 4 or 5 months ago, mate. I don't know why I'm switching to an Australian accent, but we're sticking with it. Because Crispy managed to hook us up. He managed to give us some of the good stuff with a man known as Jon Davey. Crispy, who is Jon Davey?
So, Jon Davey basically has been in, I think, about 50 episodes of New Who, and he plays a lot of various monsters, a lot of various villains that you might not have even noticed. You might not have even known that he was there. So, he is the monster captain over at the BBC, and we sent him a message, and he was nice enough to have an interview with us. And that's what you're going to see today. We recorded this ages ago, but you're going to enjoy it in all its glory. So, please like and subscribe.
Yeah, because we don't just record filler episodes to sit in the background as our backups. No, we record a full-on interview and let it sit for 4 months. A full-on interview with someone from Doctor Who that we should have released ages ago. But, you know what? Here it is for fun. Enjoy, everyone. Here it is. It's an exciting time. Yeah, so that's why. We're going to roll the intro and go straight into the interview with Jon. So hope you can forgive us not telling an unfunny joke for once in our introduction. Here we go.
Ridiculous.
Let's roll the intro for episode 62, the Jon Davey interview. Nice rhyme. Roll it!
Hello and welcome back to Who's There, a Doctor Who podcast, a show where two Who-tubers talk about the best show in all of time and space, Doctor Who. Joining me, as per usual, is the annoyingly un-Australian Troy Redditor Live. How are you?
G'day, mate. I'm alright. How are you? I'm not doing that again.
No, never do that. But also joining us is a guest I'm very, very excited about. You may know of him. You may have definitely seen him. It's Mr. Jon Davey. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm very well, thank you. Good to see you again after 8 years, I think.
Eight years,
Doctor Who
probably.
Festival, yeah, it was the last time that we met in person.
In person, yes. I'm sure that we're getting sick of talking to people over Zoom and such, but alas, here we are doing the exact same thing. But yeah, so Jon and I know each other because he is usually at a lot of Doctor Who events. But for those of you who may not know of Jon, do you want to say who you are, what you do, and what you're all about, just for our lovely Doctor Who listeners?
Yes, my name is Jon Davey, and I've been very fortunate to have been involved on the show since 2005, playing many of the monsters. Series 2, I played one of the Cybermen. Fast forward to The Power of the Doctor, where I played the Cyber Leader, as well as a unit soldier, and also a Dalek.
All in the same episode. My goodness.
And also a Cyber Warrior as well. So, yeah, they got my money's worth there.
Yeah, they definitely did. Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, Jon, you once, I think it might have been at the Symphonic Spectacular. I don't know if you go by this title anymore, but it was Monster Captain. You said something about Monster Captain. Was that a title you had previously?
Yeah, well, originally the Monster Captain was Paul Casey. And then, unfortunately, Paul Casey kind of left, and he ended up working on a little show called Star Wars for 6 years, where he was the creature movement supervisor, as well as playing many of the characters. So, so that was amazing for Paul to go on and do that. And then, then I carried on being used on the show, having some of the lead monster roles, which was very nice.
It is, yeah. It's unreal. So, first question, just from me, Jon. A lot of people want to know, how many episodes have you actually been in Doctor Who?
I've, to date, been in 50 episodes.
A clean 50.
50 episodes.
Yeah.
All the way back in 2006.
Yeah. So, I've just come off of another podcast, strangely enough, with someone in Australia.
Someone in Australia?
Yeah, the No Name Podcast, it's called.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and I did actually pull up a list of it. I don't. Let me just Well, in fact, I've actually sent you a link to a video with a short clip of every single episode that I've been in. So,
a show reel.
If you are actually able to play that, I can just maybe talk over the episodes and also the characters that I played.
You are asking a lot of me right there, but...
Well, we could share screens. I can do a screen share. If you...
Can you do a screen share right now, Troy?
As long as I can get the link up, because I don't think I have it to hand, but it might be in my history. So if you get me get it up,
that too. Yes, absolutely.
Because I was actually there was one thing I was going to ask about. Because one thing you were going to say is about all the different eras of Doctor Who you've been in. Because I've known of you for a little bit because Crispy's mentioned you for all of the stuff you've done in Doctor Who, and then he sat me down last week before we interviewed you to have a look at. There we go. I've got the link. To have a look at what you've done. And the amount of different episodes, because I remember getting through, even just, the first few series in a couple of minutes, and I was thinking, there's so much left of this video, he's done so much.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's been in as many different roles as you have. It's it takes jack of all trades to the extreme.
Yeah, if you play the video, maybe if you mute the music, and then I'll just talk over, or lower the music down, and then I can just talk over it. So it's about 6 minutes long, and it will easily
brilliant, Troy. Thank you.
Introduction. Oh, there we are.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if this will show up on Riverside, Crispy. So for the sake of my video editing, I will edit in later, and I'm going to hit the play button in 3, 2. Oh, so for audio listeners, sorry as well. We'll talk it through, obviously. So if you want to look on the video version, there won't be audio on the screen, but you can see what's happening. So if you want to watch it on video, we'll have the video up there. So
cool. You might need to rewind it a little bit.
There we go. There we go. Yeah. Right, perfect. Okay, so starting the video in 3, 2, 1, off we go.
Here we go. It's just a little graphic of me.
Yeah.
So, is it going to play or is it frozen?
It's playing for me.
It's playing
through on
so Rise of the Cyberman, Army of Ghosts there. Playing
there's so many different things already,
Cyber Party, Heads Exploding, Voyage of the Damned, where I played one of the Heavenly Hosts.
My goodness.
There are different costumes as well.
Of the Ood, where I played one of the Ood and the Natural Ood. There's me as a human being. From the Sultana Stratagem. The Hath from the Doctor's Daughter. The next Doctor playing one of Miss Hartigan's Cybermen, which is great fun. There are lots of Cybermen jiggling around and exploding.
As they do.
The End of Time, where I played one of the Hath here, and also one of the Ood as well. That's Wookiee Hole Caves in Cheddar. Or near Cheddar.
Ooh.
And then one of the Winders from the Beast Below.
Yeah, in the flesh again. Very cool.
Yeah. And then the Orange Dalek Scientist. Victory of the Daleks.
Oh, look at that.
Which is great fun. Brilliant. The Headless Cyberman from the Pandora
that's
Opens.
Iconic. That's iconic, John.
So cool. I was one of the Daleks there as well. And the Cyber Leader from A Good Man Goes to War, which was really cool. This was a DVD extra explaining how River Song got in the astronaut costume. And then Asylum of the Daleks, playing many of the busted up Daleks. And the Vigil from the Rings of Akaton. And the Whisperman, or Whispermen, from the Name of the Doctor. One of the Daleks in the Time War sequence from Day of the Doctor.
I'm just
so much
speechless.
Stuff.
Yeah, there's so much I want to say, but I'm
me
just
in the Top Hat from Deep Breath, one of the Clockwork Droids.
Unreal.
Which was great fun. And then I was a unit soldier there from Death in Heaven. Which I've got quite a good story, so remind me about this scene with Missy getting drugged and falling backwards. And then she gets her revenge for drugging her, and there's me and Marcus, and we get an on-screen vaporization.
You get exploded, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. That was great fun. And last Christmas, one of the dream crab sleeper monster things.
So much for you to remember.
Yeah, the fact that you know every single name, even like the Vigil and stuff, like some of the, like the less like recurring monsters, you're just like, yeah, know the name, got it off the top of my head.
Which is familiar Magician's Apprentice, playing one of the Daleks.
Ooh.
There, the Maya warrior from The Girl Who Died, with John Schofield there, which was super cool. Got some funny stories about walking through this doorway as well. The Zygon Starey Policeman with Dr. John Disco there.
My favourite role you've done, by the way.
That's my range. If you notice, every time you see my face, I got the same expression. The Dalek from the pilot episode. And then from Oxygen, one of the space corpses.
Unreal.
There you go. Which is great fun. And then I think this was Lie the Land. I was just a UN soldier in the background, and also the Memory Police, which was great fun, kicking down people's doors, arresting people.
Fulfilling a fantasy, were we?
Exactly, yeah. And then, is this Resolution or Revolution?
Yeah, you're in Jodie's era now.
Yeah, a soldier, and also one of the kind of goons from Spyfall, dodging Graham's laser shoes. And then Cybermen again in
so cool.
Timeless Child, Ascension of the Cybermen, Cybermasters as well. And then this was the Sycorax there with Jodie.
Nice.
And this was in my hometown of Bristol on the Clifton Suspension Bridge as a Dalek. This was from Flux, a little appearance as the Cybermen. And then Eve of the Daleks, Barnaby Edwards, Nick Pegg, and myself as one of the Daleks. Sea Devil, finally got to play a Sea Devil, which was cool.
Hey!
Legend of the Sea Devils, and there you go, Cyber Leader, and also Unit Soldier, and also Dalek. From and now there's me grabbing Janet, punching through the wall, and Cyber Warrior, all from The Power of the Doctor, and then some extra little bits. So that was the Doctor Who Proms 2013, playing one of the Whisper Men. There's an Ood on daytime television for Doctor Who Live, that was in 2010, the big touring show where I played a Cyberman and a Jadoon. That was in Brisbane, in front of 10,000 people. Yeah, the Symphonic.
Yeah,
there's me.
We were there.
With Jimmy Carr on the Big Fat Quiz of the Year. This was the start of the Doctor Who World Tour, and then the Symphonic again. In 2015, the Doctor Who Festival, where I was filmed describing what it's like to be a monster. There's me in the Maya costume. Photo shoot with Peter in Sydney. It was 40 degrees that morning.
Yeah, I was going to ask how hot it was in there.
Doctor Who Festival 2015 in London, revealing the hideous creature. And this was for Fracture in Time, or Time Fracture, the kind of live show they had in London, where I played a Zygon and did a little bit as a Silence as well.
Oh, wow.
Oh, unreal.
So there you go. There's 18, 19 years. Oh, thank you.
Well done, John. That was unreal.
My career getting dressed up as a monster.
That was crazy.
I've got to ask, just from looking at all those different costumes, do you have a favourite costume to have been in, or are the ones that are more challenging? Like, what were the better and more challenging ones of the lot? Because you had a lot there.
It depends when you ask me. If it's after 12 hours of wearing a Cyberman costume, Cyberman probably isn't my favourite costume, because they weighed almost like 30 kilos. And it was a tough workout, but I think my favourite thing that I did was the headless Cyberman from the Pandorica episode, which was amazing because they shot the entire scene with an actor who only actually had one arm, but Toby Haynes, the director, then had to do a little pickup shot of the Cyberman walking around the corner, revealing him, and then him picking the head up and plopping it on. So they couldn't get the other guy back, so they used me, and with the aid of a green morph suit on under my costume, they removed my arm and my head, which was super cool. Which was it was amazing doing that little
this is why we do what we do. We get the inside scoop on these things. That is so cool.
I was sat there thinking, I bet you he's come around that he must have had like something covering his head and his arm as well, and I was just thinking that immediately. It was just
yeah. Well, the original Cybermen costumes made by the Millennium Effects were made from fiberglass, and it was then, I think when they did the mould, they coated the mould with like an aluminium powder, so the actual outside was actually metal. But it did weigh a ton. But obviously materials and technology have progressed quite a lot in the last 20 years, and a lot of the newer stuff is much lighter.
Yeah, well, how much would a Cybermaster weigh now?
I don't know.
You got the cape as well.
The only reason why we knew the weight of it was my friend Ken. He brought in a set of bathroom scales and on one day and weighed himself with and without the costume on. But the it's the easiest way to figure it out.
Yeah. I would have loved to. I wish you took a photo of that. That's so funny. Just seeing a Cyberman that's supposed to have no emotion, worry about their weight, would be a very funny
the
picture.
Idea of like Cyberman at like Weight Watchers or something is just like a really goofy thing to me.
But the latest Cybermen were much lighter. It was like a kind of like a plastic that it was created or designed by Ray Holman and manufactured by Rob Alsop. So they were a lot lighter, but when we were actually filming The Power of the Doctor, it was very, very hot at the time, and a lot of the scenes, especially the scenes on the interior set of the train, was in a studio, tiny little confined space, exceptionally hot. So it's a good way of keeping fit. You don't need to go to the gym or a sauna.
No, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So John, just before you mentioned a certain scene with Missy from Death and Heaven that you have a good story about. Would you like to spill the beans?
Yes. So originally in the script, it said something like, Missy gets injected with something, she falls unconscious, and then gets caught by a unit soldier that then picks her up and then carries her off. So the first take, we did that as per script, but Rachel Talalay, who was directing, kind of said, it looks kind of odd. It looks like you've just been married and you're just walking off with your new bride.
Carrying over the threshold.
Yeah. So my other friend Pete, basically we caught her and then just kind of dragged her backwards, which was kind of interesting.
But it does look good in the episode.
Yeah, but that actual part of the scene was filmed in Cardiff, but it's supposed to be in London. So they shot in London with the Cybermen coming down the steps of St Paul's Cathedral, and then it literally switches to Cardiff, where they
I would never have picked that.
Where they would have. It would have been. It's a lot easier to film it in Cardiff because shooting on location in London is a total nightmare. So all the shots that you needed St Paul's Cathedral in the background, they shot in London, and then basically the rest of that was shot in the middle of the Cardiff shopping area.
Unreal.
I'd never have known that. I would never have known that.
These are the juicy bits. The juicy bits. And you also mentioned you have a story about the Maya walking through a doorway.
Yes, so the Maya Warriors are amazing. Again, made by Millennium Effects. Those were actually made from EVA foam, which anyone that does cosplay probably recognises because that's what all cosplayers use pretty much to design many of their costumes. There's a very lightweight, dense, almost like packaging foam you get in flight cases. And basically, when they were going to design it, Kate Walsh from Millennium FX were looking at different things and making it from, and they were like, well, cosplayers are using EVA foam to make all their costumes. Why aren't we actually doing the same? So
yeah,
they actually kind of learnt from the necessity of people that do cosplay, and then go, well, we'll use the same technique. So we had the Maya costumes, which were amazing. They were literally finished like 2 days before we were actually going to shoot. At the same time, the Viking barn, the exterior for that was at Cosmoston, just outside of Cardiff, which is like a medieval village that's been recreated. And then the interiors for that were made in the studio. So when we actually came to do the shot in the studio, the height of the doorway was actually lower than the height of the Maya, or our big aerials. You know, literally, because two were being made at the same time, and obviously it was literally only on the day that it was like, well, they're walking through this doorway. So we physically couldn't walk through the doorway because the Maya was actually taller than
way too tall.
Than that. So what they had to do was we had to do something called a tape roll, which is when you're filming, they'll basically say tape roll. So the tape will keep rolling, and then you'll just move forwards your action. So what we actually had to do was we had to walk up to the doorway. They would say stop, and then basically we would lean backwards, and one of the assistant directors would say limbo, and we would lean back, and they go limbo, 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 stand upright like that, and then we would then start again.
That is unreal. That is so funny. So that take exists somewhere of the Maya.
Yep, somewhere on the cutting room floor there'll be us leaning back, limboing under the doorway.
I'm going to Cardiff to get that. I'm going to Cardiff. I want that footage.
That is what we need.
So good.
That is absolutely what we need.
Blimey.
Wow, John. All right, so John, we've got a lot of questions here. We're gonna say a few right now. So you have worked on the show through many different eras. So many. I was very pleased when you stayed on for the Jodie era, when you stayed on for the Moffat era. But from your end, because your job is unlike anything else. You're not like a writer. You're not like one of the main actors. What was it like watching the show change and develop through that process?
Well, it was fascinating because to me, my other job is I'm a photographer, a cinematographer, filmmaker. So kind of half the reason why I kind of started doing initially background work in television was that I just wanted to be on a set and see how everyone else worked. It was all a kind of learning process. So for me, it was just fascinating because most of the stuff that I did was or is stop motion animation, which is all very, very small sets, small lighting setups. So it was great to be on live action sets. And, most of the time when I'm not actually doing anything, I'm just looking at how everyone does their job and just learning. So it's just kind of fantastic that I've been involved in the show for all this time and kind of watched the kind of progression of I guess how good everything looks, because on the camera's very forgiving. So on screen everything looks fantastic, and then when you kind of look at stuff in real life you go, really? Is that is that not going to look terrible on screen? But yeah, again, the camera is very very forgiving, and there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and you can kind of get away with making something look extremely amazing, but I guess at a lower budget cost.
Oh, Doctor Who's always been very good at that.
Oh, absolutely.
Always been very good at
I love this. There's just like a collection of those kind of photos where there's people like wearing like the prosthetic suits and stuff. Like, there's one of a Slitheen where they've not got the pants, they're just stood there in normal jeans, but everything else is Slitheen. Or like the Moxa Balhoun because he sits on that little floating chair, but then he's just sat on the end of a table with his legs out. I love like those kind of ones. That one of you with the green screen arm is going in the collection. Just of those like goofy pictures you get where people have got the costumes, but you also see the face or the art popping out there. They're brilliant. They're so good.
Well, I love all the behind the scenes stuff because the way I kind of got interested in filmmaking is when I was a kid. I didn't have any aspirations of being in the movies. And I didn't even think I would get there because it was something that was, to me, was really quite unattainable. So I just used to sit around, watch, behind the scenes making of Indiana Jones, making of Star Wars and stuff like that, and kind of just getting my kind of knowledge from doing, looking at stuff like that. And then when, I started working in the industry, I had a kind of all this knowledge of how stuff should be done or how to actually achieve something on the fly as well. I guess one of my skills as such is I'm quite a good problem solver. So most TV and film sets is a continuous stream of solving problems because there's 1,000 moving parts, and if someone's costume gets a button falls off, or even a very minimal thing, that will just grind everything to a halt. So working on the fly and just trying to figure out how to get the shot and how to keep the production rolling, because the budget for anything is huge on a daily basis, and the most important thing is what's known as making the day. So basically they'll have a plan of everything they have to shoot on that day, the schedule, and really the most important thing is making the day. Because if you overrun to another day, for example, on like a big production like Rogue One that I briefly worked on, they were probably spending $1 million a day.
Oh so my goodness.
if you didn't shoot
bigger
everything,
than Doctor Who.
Yeah, if you didn't shoot everything that day and you had to add an extra day on, that's $1 million of somebody else's money that they're not going to be very happy about spending.
Yeah,
so
crikey.
So it is literally, it's like, right, well, this is what we have to do. This is the amount of time that we've got to do it. Unless you're like Stanley Kubrick and just using an inordinate amount of takes, you just got to go, well, that will do, that sells it, that's, that's going to work on screen.
Brilliant. Unreal.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember hearing when Doctor Who first started back up, I think it was on our friend Clever Dick Films was doing a documentary about the Eccleston era. I swear someone said behind the scenes they were 3 weeks behind after 2 weeks of shooting. Like, it's so easy, I feel like, to fall out of schedule.
I can't even understand the maths on that, because...
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's one heck of a quote.
Yeah, if you were 2 weeks behind and hadn't shot anything after 2 weeks, you would still be 2 weeks behind. So, like, to be in a negative, it's like...
Yeah, I guess it was exaggerated to make the point, but still, it sounded like it was, they clearly weren't making the day. They weren't managing that at the time, so... No. I don't know. But yeah, talking about being in different areas of the show and transitioning over, obviously, the big difference for what you see on the screen is the change of cast, but behind the scenes is also the change of crew. Was there anything really drastic that you noticed as you moved between the eras, like how things changed behind the scenes, production-wise?
Yeah, well, a lot of the crew have kind of been the same. The crew would kind of come and go. So every time a new showrunner came in, there would be different people selected that obviously the showrunners work with or think would be suitable. But many of the crew have kind of been there from year dot. To be honest, probably the only person that I know that has been there right from the beginning and is still there is Stephen Morris, who is now one of the executive producers. So I think I met him originally when we did our Cyberman auditions that we did with Elsa Burt, the choreographer. I think he was possibly the second assistant director then. But he's basically then became the line producer, which is a super tough job, because basically you're a producer, but you're in charge of every single department and making sure every single department is on time and on the same page at the same place.
Crikey.
Which is, is a skill amongst itself to actually do that. But yeah, Absolutely. And Steph is, I think, now the exec producer. So yeah, certain people have come and gone. Ray Holman, who did the costumes, he's done stuff, gone away, come back. The most notable thing, and the thing that everybody will notice if they actually do watch the show, is the change in camera technology that they used.
Yes.
So Eccleston and early Tennant was all being shot on standard definition digibeta cameras. Which, when you go back and look, you kind of go like, ooh, because we're so used to, high definition, ARRI quality imaging, which is now what everything's shot on. So yeah, that was, and again for myself, that was kind of fascinating. I was looking and going like, they're using digibeta cameras on this. And then I think they transitioned to Sony high definition cameras. I think it was possibly the F35 they were using, and then eventually the ARRI Alexa, which is pretty much the industry standard for everything which is now being shot. But yeah, when you do watch it, it's all of a sudden gone from like a kind of TV look type program to being obviously more cinematic.
I think Doctor Who looks brilliant now. Yeah, as Troy and I have said a million times, like Jodie's era, I think they brought in those cameras for Jodie's era, and you can definitely tell like it feels like a cinematic feel. It's unreal. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it's great, and also, obviously, as a spin-off on the back of the show, I've got to travel around the world, coming to Australia twice, which was, actually 3 times for the Doctor Who Symphonic, 2014, 2015, also the Doctor Who Festival. So as much as I enjoy working on the show, I think doing the live events is probably my most favourite thing, because working on a TV or a film is very, very stop, start, wait around, do nothing, rush, get something done. And then when you look at it on screen, you're like, oh yeah, that thing that was really complicated, there's only a 3-second clip now. So performing in front of an audience where you have to, know that you have to hit a mark to the correct beat of the music, and you have to do like 130 paces and figuring all of that out, and also getting the audience reaction immediately, is super, super rewarding. Also, as well, is it's like most actors will tell you that they love doing theatre, in comparison to TV and movies, because you are immersed in it for the entire thing. You are that character, instead of like, can you just sort of say that word again? It's very bitty. Unfortunately, there isn't as much money to be made in theatre as there is in TV and film. But yeah, I loved it. Absolutely love doing all the live events, doing all the travelling, and especially being in Australia where the weather's nice.
Yeah, no, it was nice having you, John. It was nice having you, John.
Well, speaking of then, did you happen to be one of the Cybermen that was touring around Liverpool or Edinburgh when they were doing the Worlds of Wonder launches for the exhibition?
Yes, I was. So that was Liverpool, when they did all the sort of the press photos. That was me and Simon Carew. I didn't do Edinburgh. I was originally asked, but here's my first world problems. Oh, I was in America for 2 months, so I couldn't do it. I went over there for Long Island Who, and then basically went to Las Vegas for 7 weeks, staying with a friend of mine. So,
nice.
Yeah, I was like, you know, what am I missing out on in Britain? Bad weather, no work. I'd rather just be in the sun, in the desert.
Nice. Almost
Gamble
like
it all
Australia.
away, you know? I know, as soon as you said about live stuff, I thought, well, hang on, there were Cybermen touring down Liverpool when the exhibition went out, so I was sat here thinking, no, I'll ask him. Because I didn't see them at the time, and I was really annoyed, but I saw all the articles about it afterwards and thought, oh, that is just fantastic. Having Cybermen going around, especially Liverpool, which was, for me, was so crazy, because I live right next to city centre, so, like, especially with Flux, some of those shots of, like, Sontarans going through Liverpool 1 and everything was just, like, that was huge for me. Being able to put it in the screen and go, I know that place. I've seen that before. It was great.
Yeah,
so the idea of Cybermen walking around.
When I was walking back to the train station, I was like, I recognise this place. I've seen this on Batman.
yeah, because they filmed. Gotham City Hall was St George's Hall, because it was right next to Lime Street. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Wild.
There's a few places when he jumps off the police headquarters and does the paragliding. That's the Liver building by the River Mersey as well. There's a few places I saw videos of people who filmed of him up there, like pulling out the glider. I wish I could have seen that in person. It would have been amazing. Yeah, it's fab. Okay, well, here's a tough question for you then. Of all the 50 episodes that you've worked on, every different character you've played, every different era you've been a part of, which episode that you've worked on, singular episode, was the best for you, and why?
Oh, let me think. Now, best is a very subjective word.
Exactly.
So I got to try and draw on experiences. Well, I tell you, one of the strangest and nicest experiences I had was on the Return of Dr. Mysterio, and I've just realised I hadn't actually put that clip in my show reel. Darn it, I'm going to have to go back and do that.
Oh, no.
So basically, I was one of the kind of half-headed, one of those people. There was me and my friend Brad. We were on that on the spaceship when the spaceship kind of is going to crash.
Oh yeah.
And then pretty much I spent most of the day with half of my head painted green, which was kind of funny. And then that was a day after I went to a Doctor Who convention in Swansea called Regenerations, which is quite a well-known Doctor Who convention put on by Carrie Woodward. And so it was the day after we shot that, and then we shot all our scenes, and I just went to leave, and Peter Capaldi, as he passed me, he was like, I won't try and do a Peter Capaldi impression because it won't work well.
Because Crispy does it and it's awful, yeah.
And he said, he goes, oh, John, I heard you were at a Doctor Who convention at the weekend. What was it like? And I was like, oh, yeah, it was great. You know, blah, blah, blah was here. And, you know, the doctors, Colin Baker was there, blah, blah. Then I walked off and I was like, that is so unusual. Like, Doctor Who has just said to me, I heard you were at a Doctor Who convention at the weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I really that famous and followed by all these amazing actors?
You are.
And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, that's really bizarre. And then one of the runners, Lauren Pate, who's now the second assistant director, she was at the convention as well. And basically, she had told Peter. So that cleared that up. But one real strange experience is that it's like, I find it very difficult to ever have a conversation with Peter. I just totally would have that fan thing of just freezing and not being able to talk. You know, any fan knows that when they meet someone famous, they get that, moment. But Peter would always try and start a conversation, but I think I always came off a bit curt and a bit abrupt, and it was just because I couldn't separate him because he's so distinctive looking.
Oh yeah.
yeah, like in hindsight, like thinking, it's like, oh my god, I really wish I would have had kind of more of these moments, like talking. But I was kind of like,
it's still special. It's still special.
Yeah, exactly.
It's unreal. Like,
Yeah,
I can't imagine Peter trying to have a casual conversation with someone. That's unreal.
yeah, well, it's
Exactly.
It reminds me a little bit of Sophie that played Ace. She was saying that she was walking through the BBC, and down the corridor, Armando Iannucci was walking towards her. And obviously Armando Iannucci, showrunner of Veep and, you know, all the stuff that he's kind of done with Chris Morris, and brilliant stuff. And she was like, oh my God, it's Armando Iannucci. And then Armando Iannucci kind of like came up and was like, oh, hi Sophie, how's it going? Had this little kind of interaction. And then like apparently like she was saying that later on she found out like Armando totally like kind of just did that whole fan thing. Like, oh my God, it's Ace.
That's such a cute story.
I know.
Oh, wow.
And again, there was what was the documentary? Tom Felton Meets the Superfans. Have you seen that documentary?
I don't know if I
haven't.
No.
No, so it is out there somewhere. So basically, Tom Felton that played Malfoy in Harry Potter, he basically does a documentary about fandom, and he's basically got this super fan, this kind of like 50-something-year-old woman that will turn up everywhere where he goes, and like asks for pictures, asks to have things signed, and he's kind of like, this is kind of a bit strange to me, you know. And so they did this documentary about understanding fandom. So he went, I think, to San Diego Comic-Con. He did that whole classic thing where he got like kind of dressed up so people wouldn't recognise him. Then he went and did an interview with William Shatner, and literally the same thing happened. He was interviewing him and just did exactly the same thing, and he was like,
"That's so funny."
Yeah, he goes, I totally get it now when you meet a fan and everything just seems to fall to pieces.
Well, John, it's a very human thing. And with Peter Capaldi, it's very understandable. Very understandable. Yeah. So that was one of your nicest and strangest experiences.
Yeah.
Now, am I allowed to throw it on its head and ask you, what was your worst experience? Was there a costume that you're like, I do not like wearing this? Was the Sea Devil too rubbery? What was going on? What's the behind the scenes goss?
Well, I don't want to get myself sacked for the show show.
No, of course not. Of course not.
But what are you trying to do, Crispy?
Maybe I was just trying to towards a costume that was uncomfortable. Perhaps you don't have to tell me if someone was not nice on set.
In fact, one of my least favourite experiences was one of the very last days of shooting the Cybermen in Series 2. Basically what happened was, I think there were 12 costumes altogether, but 13 people got booked. So they did the very last day of filming the Cybermen, and I didn't get to be in a Cyberman costume. So the irony of it was that Cyberman costume was the most difficult costume that we've probably done. But the irony of it is, because I didn't wear the costume on that one day, was probably my worst experience.
Wow.
That's the ego taking control, isn't it? It's like, I like to wear the costume today.
But I want to play, guys. Come on.
I want to be the Cyberman. Mum said it's my turn with the costume.
Yeah, come on, guys. No, that is wild. That is wild. So, John, I've got to ask you. You've done a lot about Doctor Who, but what do you do for fun? Because I follow you on Insta, and your life looks like much more fun than mine. So tell the people what you're up to. You went to Vegas for 7 weeks.
I know.
Come on.
Yeah, my posts on Instagram are. Well, I get a lot of people sending me messages saying I live vicariously through your Instagram posts, and I don't know, and it is a kind of true reflection of generally my life, and I think it's probably down to some sort of attention disorder, where every single day of my life has to have something exciting, different, interesting going on. You know, if
it's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. Well, it's a bad thing for the bank balance, because I cannot concentrate and focus on doing one thing constantly. So, but to be honest, I embrace it, and it works for me, and it takes me to some random fantastic places, and I get to do some cool stuff. But yeah, I love to ride my skateboard, my electric skateboard, or technically it's an electric mountain board. So it's got to a point though, and I had to kind of take a step back and look at it, that I had to go out riding 12 to 15 miles every day on it. And if I'd miss a day, I would start getting a little bit antsy. And I'm like, is this what an addiction is? Maybe. So
it's not a bad thing to be addicted
I've had to kind of like go, you know what? You know, I'm gonna make sure that I don't. I need the downtime. I need the downtime from the adrenaline. I think probably I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and I'm always trying to stay on this high, which isn't sustainable. But yeah. I love flying around at 30 miles an hour on my skateboard. I've just been doing a van conversion, so converting a camper van so I can jump in it, and then just again take where it'll take me, where my brain just makes a decision in the morning saying I'm going here and I'm going to do this today. So which is brilliant. You know, 2 days ago, my buddy, who also has got a camper van, he was like, "Oh, do you want to fancy going to this pub in Wales? We can stay in their car park overnight." So we drove to Wales, had a pub lunch, stayed in the car park, went to a forest the next day. So it's having freedom, and the one thing that most people don't really have in life is choice. So that's my hobby, having choice in life, I guess.
I love that.
No wonder people are living vicariously through your Instagram. Yeah. I can tell just from you explaining it. I need to be following you. What's your Instagram? Pop it in here so we can all follow you.
At Jon Davey 007.
Oh, Mr. Bond. Mr. Bond himself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
One of my favourite memories of John, I think I messaged you back in 2018 or something, because I wanted to do, so I was like, oh hey John, what are you up to? And you just sent me this 360 video of you in a hot tub on a Doctor Who cruise, and I was like, oh, he's living the life. He's living the life.
Oh,
I was like, this man's doing things right.
Blimey.
This man's doing the right things. That's one of my favorite things. It was just one of the best responses, because you know when you're talking to, like, you know, people that, you know, in the industry and stuff, you know, there are nerves that follow, and so when you receive that back, you're like, oh, you know, John's one of us. John's living life.
Oh, blimey.
No, absolutely
that
fantastic.
Is so good,
absolutely
man.
Fantastic. Troy, you got anything else to ask, Mr. John?
Well, I think the most important question is, you've been in this many episodes of Doctor Who. Are you planning to come back for any more in the future?
If you're allowed to comment.
I hope so. I know it's you know, there's a big kind of change of everything on Doctor Who now. But Lauren, who's the second assistant director, she's there, and she was really good to us over the kind of last 4 or 5 years. You know, making sure she got us in because we knew we could do the job. So yeah, fingers crossed. But it's like anything in the entertainment industry. You know, you never know. Not for any good or bad reasons. It's just how things are. That's
showbiz.
Yeah. Fingers crossed that will be a thing.
Well, yeah.
Let's hope. Crispy.
Yeah.
You've got a question you wanted to ask about a certain a certain rap, possibly?
Oh yeah. One of my favourite things you've ever done was the A to Z rap. Do you want to tell people about that, John?
Yeah, so, oh my God, this would have been about 7 years ago. I was on YouTube and I just came across a clip of Daniel Radcliffe on Jimmy Fallon performing alphabet aerobics, which is a very complicated rap, which is a kind of A to Z rap. And I was like, oh, wouldn't that be really cool if somebody did something like that, but with like all the monsters or characters in Doctor Who? So I was like, oh, I'm going to have a go at writing this. So I was like, right, as per the alphabet aerobics, the Black Alicia song, I was basically like, right, I'm only going to try and use words to describe the character with the same letter as the character. So I started like writing some of this stuff out, and then it started getting very complicated. So I kind of had a thesaurus and a TARDIS wiki, trying to kind of like figure out how to do it. And then I finally wrote it, and then I was like, well, I've done nothing musical in my life. I need a bit of help with this. So I went and saw a friend of mine who's a talented musician and also a producer. He's produced all sorts of stuff for Massive Attack, Joss Stone, Tom Waits, all sorts. And I was like, right, this is the idea. Help me out because I'm not very good. So he actually literally sat down and wrote the music in probably 30 minutes. He literally just laid down the drums, the bass line, the guitar, and everything, and then recorded my dialogue, and then shifted my dialogue around so it actually flowed better than what I could do it. And then I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to do a video on this. And then I'm like, well, the Doctor Who, I know Jamie Hill that worked at the Doctor Who Experience also played the Silence on the Mummy on the Orient, Silence and the Mummy on the Orient Express. And I was like, oh, can I come in and then I can basically do this rap and then film it next to the characters that I'm talking about. Nice bit of production value.
Nice.
So I went in on 2 evenings, filmed it, edited it all together. And then one of the managers there got a little bit iffy about like, BBC branding. I'm not sure whether this is good or not, and I don't know if you should release it. So I was like, right, I'm not going to see the obstacles in the forest. I'm going to see the pathway. So I'm like, right, who do I know? And I was like, I met a guy when I was in Australia called Tony Perner, who worked for...
Oh, my boy Tony!
Yeah.
Oh, I love Tony!
He worked for BBC Worldwide there. So I sent him a message, and I sent him the video and explained it. And he was like, yeah, he goes, that's a shame, that is so good. And he was like, you know what, I know the person that runs the social media side for Doctor Who. I'll send it to him. And then they put it on the Doctor Who Facebook page. So I kind of circumvented...
You went...
permission.
Yeah.
Which was good. And and every time I go to a live event, I've got an instrumental version of it, and then I'll perform it live on stage and do the rap.
It is brilliant. And I think the moral of the story there is if you want something done, talk to an Australian. I think that's the bottom line. Yeah. No, I can't believe you brought up Tony. Oh, Tony was such a legend.
Yeah, the reaction, the way your face lit up, I was so Tony's a good guy.
Well, Tony, I'm not sure. I think he's working at Sony now or something. He's doing very good things. But Tony was part of the reason I got work experience at BBC Worldwide. So Tony is a absolutely brilliant individual. Wow, was not expecting that today.
He's very can-do.
Yes, he is absolutely can-do individual. So, John, one final question before we let you go. What are your thoughts on Ncuti Gatwa? Are you excited for the future of Doctor Who heading forward?
I am. To be fair, I haven't actually seen him in anything. I haven't actually seen Sex Education or anything that he's done.
Not a bad thing.
But Russell is an exceptionally brilliant writer and showrunner, and everything that he touches is fantastic. So I'm sure it would be good. There was a very funny comment when that I made on set when we were filming was it Eve of the No, it wasn't Eve of the Daleks. It was the scene in the caves for Power of the Doctor. So that's when it was announced that that Bad Wolf was being involved and Russell was coming back and everything. Literally, we were shooting on set. None of the crew knew this.
Wow.
And so I was working with Barnaby Edwards and Nick Pegg doing Dalek stuff in these caves when all of this was announced. And Barnaby was like, wow, he goes, Russell's coming back. Like, I wonder how everything is going to be. And just randomly, flippantly off my head, I was like, yeah, he's probably written the entire season already.
I would not be surprised.
Russell is brilliant. He's everything he touches is great, and I'm sure that is down to putting in the hard work and doing everything behind the scenes that when you come to do it, it will go smoothly. So, I love his storytelling, his way of storytelling as well. It's just fantastic.
He's a master. He's a master of that stuff.
Yeah. So all exciting, stuff.
Very, very exciting. Well, speaking of exciting stuff, we've got to thank you for being with us today, John. You've been an absolute legend.
You're
really
welcome.
Appreciate it. This is one of the highest profile interviews we've done for this podcast, so we very much appreciate that.
So crazy, having someone who's been in, and not just been some of the most iconic monsters, but in so many episodes. I mean, 50, it already sounds like a lot, but you think, I don't know how many we've had specifically, but in the modern era, we have had, less than 200, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You've definitely been at least a quarter of the episodes of a show that has now currently spanned 18 years in its current leg, and you've been in a quarter of the episodes as a whole host of monsters. That is... commendable doesn't do it justice. That's ridiculously cool.
Thank you.
So, there you go. That's the thing. I said Crispy was talking about this for a while, and I was really excited about the idea of having someone on who was so high profile for it. So, thanks for coming on. It's been an absolute blast to have you here.
Oh, you're welcome. It. Oh, one other thing that I need to add as well was that when we were shooting Power of the Doctor, I was the cyber leader, and Jamie, who directed it, who was brilliant. He's such an amazing director. He's so excited, and what was really nice with him, and this is a sign of a good director, was that he wouldn't give, for the rehearsal, he wouldn't give out too much direction. And he would basically just see what we would do, what we would come up with, and then he would kind of then tweak. Is that kind of happy accident thing that sometimes you can't force something to happen. You just got to let the actors just do your thing, and we'll see how it looks. So with the cyber leader, me and Simon Carew as well, who was kind of in charge of kind of getting our movement all good. We were just trying to come up with other stuff, because we're normally when you're a sideman, you just kind of stand there and you just deliver your lines and you're just like a statue. So I was trying to bring a little bit of life into it. And it possibly doesn't show too much in the way that it's edited, and a lot of it is in close-up. But basically, as the cyber leader, when I was stood in a role of authority, I would actually have, I can't really see it, but I'd actually have my hands clenched like that. And you don't normally see it, but I think on the opening shot of me in the space train, you see it. And then when I go into some slightly more aggressive dialogue, I'll actually put my hands to the side. And I was like, and all through the shoot, I was like, there's one thing I want to put in here, which was basically a hark back to David Banks and his excellent fist clenching Cyberman from the 1980s. So the one scene where the Doctor and Yaz are on the planet, and then I appear at the top of this kind of huge, great big pile of rubble, which was actually a great big, huge pile of rubble in this quarry. And then basically there was Nick Briggs's dialogue that I was miming to, and then on the very last line, which unfortunately for the life of me I can't remember, I basically raise my fist, and then the other Cybermen appear and then start shooting at her. So I got the fist clench in there, and I was at a Doctor Who convention in San Diego, and everybody sat down and watched the episode, and when I did that fist clench, everyone started cheering, because they obviously knew that it was referring back to classic Doctor Who. So yeah, that was a really fun little thing that I managed to sneak in there.
I love that. I love that it was completely like your call as well, and the director was like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Yeah.
Because
yeah. Well, they did.
I was just going to say with this like series we're doing, the last video essay I had was on Jamie Magnus Stone, and he sent in some clips as well. So Jamie Magnus is an incredible guy. Absolutely love him.
Yeah. No, he was so much fun to work with, and he was literally he was. There was one bit where we were also marching on the space train, and we needed an eye level, and the telegraph pole from that episode that when Jodie goes into the kind of other realm and meets the Doctors was still on the same set. So like literally, I just saw Jamie literally just clambering up this telegraph pole with a piece of pink tape, sticking an X on there, going, right, that's your eye line, because, he probably knew it was a lot quicker for him to actually do it himself and tell someone, and then that person tells it, and then that person doesn't put it in the right place. So yeah, that was great. It was really nice working with a director who's totally hands-on, and just brilliant fun to work with.
That is incredible. And that's exactly why we got you on, John, for insane insight like that. Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
That is all right. Troy, we got to wrap up.
Well, yeah, I think I might. I kind of want to hear like more stories. The amount that you've got to say is
there's so many.
There's so many. The thing is I want to write a book. I haven't got the concentration for writing. I haven't got the concentration for writing an email, let alone a book. However, I've recorded just conversations like this with. Do you know Ian Shaw? He did Gallifrey Stan's podcast.
Oh, it rings a bell.
Yeah, by name I've heard of it. Yeah.
So basically we sat down and watched the episodes, and I just talked. Literally talked.
Oh, nice. A commentary.
Recorded everything. And so I kind of need somebody to almost transcribe and ghost write.
Yeah.
Troy, you got some spare time, mate?
I could use the money. Yeah, you want to hire me out? I'm here for you.
However, you probably well know that there is absolutely no money in writing books unless you're massively famous.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, the thing is, I just want to do it. I know that I'm not going to make any money from it, but it's just a good thing that the fans will love, and also I could then say I'm a published author, so I've got a bit more credibility.
No, very, very nice. Well, I will definitely read it if it does come to fruition. If you need some free promotion, come and hit us up. Absolutely.
Cool.
The man behind the monsters. I like that.
Behind the mask. Oh, one last thing before we go as well. I got a little show and tell. So the Whispermen in The Name of the Doctor, the prosthetic makeup would actually take 3 hours to put on.
Blimey.
Which I can send you actually a little YouTube link.
Yeah, please.
So that was pretty hard going. That would take 3 hours, and we were there at 4 o'clock in the morning. 3 hours to put it on, 12 hours wearing it, and probably an hour taking it back off of our face again, which was, a pretty tough feat. So it was amazing. We did 5 days of the Whispermen stuff, as well as doing it for the Doctor Who proms. Which was pretty tough going, having to wear that all day. So that was fantastic. And then I was like, this is such an amazing memory. And luckily, when they actually managed to remove most of the prosthetic, they managed to get it off in one piece, a bit like peeling an orange in one piece.
Yeah.
So that was really cool, and then I got to keep it. So lo and behold, here is.
Oh, I'm so excited!
Dun, 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 the
I'm
underlayer.
so excited! Oh my gosh!
So this was the prosthetic that they would stick to our face, and then the final part was a white stocking that was pulled over our face, and then as you can see, they kind of painted in the shadow detail around our eyes and around our lips, which was super cool. So good. And then years later, I popped in to see Kate Walsh at Millennium Effects as I was just passing, and she goes, "Oh, I got something that you might want," and she had kept my Whispermen teeth.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we've got a thumbnail sorted, so that's great.
So
this is exactly why we needed you on. Oh my gosh.
So these
so cool.
These were made by a guy called Chris Lyons, who his company is Fangs Effects. And
Fangs Effects.
And literally, if you go to his Instagram, it was like, "Oh, yeah, we just made teeth for Rami Malek, for Freddie Mercury, and we've just made teeth for Javier Bardem in James Bond," and like everybody like that. And yeah, Chris is an amazing guy, totally unassuming. So what they did was they basically took a denture mold of our teeth, which then created the negative that then
Oh wow.
And then
oh my goodness.
That is wild. You can't talk in them, can you?
I can, but I kind of I speak a little bit like Janet Street Porter.
Imagine if you joined the call with those teeth and just looked and gone, "Have you brushed your teeth this morning, mate?" Like,
so
blimey.
These are an amazing little keepsake that I've got from the show.
Yeah,
that is
right.
Crazy.
Yeah. That is mad.
Unreal.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
Well, thank you, John, so much for being here. This is an honour, genuinely. Yeah. This is absolutely fantastic.
You're welcome. Anytime. I just love talking about all of my adventures in space and time.
Maybe we'll get you on for a commentary one day. Maybe we will watch.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Together.
We'll see if we can arrange that. That'd be fantastic.
For sure. If you want to do a director's commentary for
oh, really? Would you actually be down?
Yeah. No, it's a shame because Gallifrey 1 is this weekend, and unfortunately there wasn't enough budget to pay for my flight out there.
Oh no!
But Jodie is going, as well as Chris Chibnall, and they're basically doing an audio commentary on Power of the Doctor. And
cool.
Simon, who also works on the show, he's going over and he's been involved in it. But yeah, it would have been amazing to do that. But unfortunately, they prioritise new guests, and unfortunately I've been there 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Even though I was all over the Power of the Doctor, but never mind. But yeah, if you want to do a director's commentary, there's, I was probably privy to like 40% of everything on there. So yeah, I'm more than happy that I'm up for doing that.
So I'm reaching out my hand now. We're in agreement that no one else gets to steal this from us. This is our thing. We're going to arrange for this in a couple of months' time. There we go. We'll shake on it. There you go.
Amazing. He doesn't need
we will be back in touch,
and
we will be in touch soon. We'll make that happen.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, John.
What annoys me now is this interview isn't probably going to go out for like a month until you've got your essay sorted, Crispy. So
I'll get it together.
To be honest,
I'll get it together.
By the time it comes out, we can probably hit you back up and go, right, so next week, fancy doing an audio commentary?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll make it happen.
You'll be like, well, and we'll go straight into the audio commentary on Power of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be astonishing. That'd be absolutely
perfect.
astonishing. We can release it as like a bonus feature type thing, because that doesn't need much editing. We can put that as like an event piece for us to do, so we'll arrange that.
Thank you, John. You're an absolute legend. I knew you would be a perfect guest to be with us today. You've been amazing in the past, and you're amazing now. So thank you
very
much.
My pleasure. And yeah, keep up the good work, and look forward to it coming out.
Oh yes. Do you have anything you want to promote right now while we have you to the masses?
I'm not up to much at the moment. In fact, it's a beautiful sunny day, even though it's quite cold. So I'm going to go out skating shortly. But you can follow me. You can follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Jon Davey 007, and you can just catch up the crazy ADHD life that I live.
Nice. Very nice.
You got a new follower. There you go.
Hey, well done, Troy. Well done, Troy.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Oh, fantastic. Well,
That's
thank you very much, John, for being here, and thank you to everyone for listening. We're going to record a special intro outro afterwards, so we don't need to worry about anything professional like that, so we can just say thank you very much, and we can wrap there.
Thanks, guys. Alonso.